Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a good evening. Hold a second, I'm having some issues here with my thing.
There we go. Sorry about that. I got this new little toy that Pascal told me to get to help do these shows better, and I'm still learning it. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. We're going to be talking about Layla Santenello. We have her mother, Jennifer, on here, and we've talked to Jennifer before. It's been about a year. Both Jennifer and I know what we're doing a little bit better before than we did. And before we start, though, there's something that I have to share with y'all. I got some really bad news a short while ago, unrelated to this case. If y'all remember a few months ago, we were covering Audrey Cunningham a couple months ago. And during that case, I was talking to Audrey's maternal grandfather, a man by the name of Mark Cedars. He took care of Audrey's little half-sister, really struggled with everything that was going on with their missing granddaughter, the struggles that their daughter had given them. Well, I learned a couple of weeks ago that he had entered the hospital. He's mid to late 50s, entered the hospital from a heart attack. And apparently today he worked for Walmart. And you notice I'm using past tense. Apparently he was at Walmart Academy for training and passed away this evening. So he was the primary breadwinner for that family. His wife is beside herself, doesn't know what she's going to do. He took care of Audrey's little sister. So we're going to try to see what we can find out to do to help them. But just to let y'all know, that happens. I'm absolutely heartbroken by it. He was a really, really nice man. And I'm just going to be bold, and I'm going to say this. And I think that obviously we know Stephen McDougal was arrested for the death of Audrey Cunningham, and I feel confident in saying that we could probably pin this death on him as well. So if you aren't religious, please keep him in your thoughts. If you are religious, please keep that family in your prayers, and I will keep you guys updated as soon as I have some more information regarding that. So with that being said, before we talk about Layla bringing on, you guys know that I have to do some shameless promotion stuff. So let me do that real quick. And real quick before I do, while I'm doing this, if you don't want to listen to me, whatever, you can see that scrolling across the bottom. This is Jennifer Santenello's TikTok page. It's A Beautiful Disaster 101. Spelled out just like it sounds, all one word, A Beautiful Disaster 101. Go give her a follow. Her account has really grown exponentially. This is a case that needs and deserves a lot of attention. And you know what? It's another unsolved Tennessee case that's not getting the attention that it should have. And she's going to talk to us about it in a few minutes. But before we do, just to kind of let you guys know, let me put these things up. When we're done with these, the audio from these go to my podcast, which is 50 Words for Murder. You can get to that by going to justinontiktok.com, scrolling down past my picture, the books, and you'll see this. You can click on it. Please subscribe or follow the podcast. So if it's something that you can't sit and watch the whole time, you can at least listen to it in the car during your commute or while you're working around the house, etc. So this audio tonight or tomorrow will probably be on there as well, just to let you guys know. The next things I'm going to share with you real quick is, a lot of y'all know that I have written a couple of children's books because, true crime and murder and children's books go so well hand in hand. But I wrote this one. It's called Boundaries. And I do feel that, I know I said that kind of sarcastically, but I think that it kind of does, because we're trying to prevent things from happening to our kids, right? That's kind of the point. So this one helps teach boundaries. If you're no contact, limited contact with a family member, this is a way to explain it to your kids in a way that doesn't vilify that person, in a way that's easy for them to understand, but then goes on to teach them boundaries. And then the one that I'm very excited about, because it just finally came out, is my second one. It's called Surprises Are Okay, Secrets Are Not. Let me see if I can get to pull up. There it goes. This one just came out, and it's basically exactly what it says. Kids should not be keeping secrets, especially for adults. And so this book goes over that, explains that, and then at the end has a Q&A that you can open up a dialogue with a discussion with your child, and even give some examples so you can go into it as deep as you want to or not. So if you want either one of those, you can purchase them on TikTok Shop or at my website, justontiktok.com. And if you order them. They will be signed. You can put a note for me to personalize them if you have somebody you want to give them to. So please feel free to do that. So with all of that stuff out of the way, make sure if you're here on YouTube for the first time, hit that subscribe button, follow this. If you want to join the family, I know that there's something that you can do to join the family. Pascal always talks about it, but you can do that. But without further ado, let's bring on Jennifer. I got to make you bigger there. Hold on. Hey, how are you?
I'm okay. I had to move the setup out to the car because Nova is not sleeping well the last few days, and she's awake and she's being really, really loud right now. She's playing with her poppy. And a truck just pulled up next to me. He's parking, so if you hear the noise, I'm sorry about that.
You know, we all have lives, and you're human, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Out there, and that's not going to make a difference on it.
I'm most comfortable doing these things from my bedroom, but it wasn't gonna work tonight.
Well, you and I have talked before, so I know your story, but some of the people here might not. So I don't know where you might. Well, I'll tell you. Let's start with, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we'll get into Layla's story.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I am Jennifer Santenello. I'm a 42-year-old mother and grandmother. I had my oldest child when I was 20. Her name is Layla. Layla is a headstrong, vivacious, beautiful soul. Fearless, bold, prideful. She's a Leo, and everything about her absolutely shows it. She emanates this like light and this insane energy. The world has always been drawn to her. She has never known a stranger. She loves everyone. Back in June, Layla was living with her then boyfriend and his mother and brother here in Kingsport, Tennessee. And her boyfriend were like a little codependent in an unhealthy way, where like you never saw one without the other, and it was a tumultuous situation. And one night, out of the clear blue sky, I always have to count back. I believe it was June 24th, and I get this message from Layla's Facebook account, but it's clear it's not her, it's him, asking me, do I know if Layla is in jail? To which I obviously kind of like freak out, and I ask a bunch of questions, and I'm like, what do you mean? Why is she not with you? Why would she be in jail? That doesn't make any sense. You're not making any sense. And I get no responses. So I call all the jails, and then I call all the local hospitals, and she's not in any of those places. And I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. Maybe they've had a fight. Maybe she's taken off and he's, looking for her. Let's see what's going on. I don't think anything nefarious is going on. I just figure they've had some kind of falling out and whatever. And he never responds to that my questions. He never answers my questions, never says anything again. At some point that night, Layla logged into her Facebook account and saw where he had messaged me looking for her. And she responded, but in a very short way. It sounded like her. And later on, they were able to like trace it all back, and it really did come from where she was, but it was kind of short. She's normally a little more forthcoming with information. Like, she doesn't hold back, but she was kind of holding back. So she messaged me, says, I'm okay. I was asleep by that point. So I answered first thing when I woke up in the morning and saw, and I was like, oh, thank God. Like, what happened? Why does he think you're in jail? And she gives me like these short answers. I don't know. I'm with friends. I'm fine. I'm fine, Mom. Like, I'm okay. Please don't fret. Please don't worry. Like, because she could see by the message the night before that like I was upset and I was worried. And I'm thinking, like, obviously the boyfriend has access to this account. I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. I'm not going to try and get her to tell me what's going on right then and there, because I don't want him getting in there and seeing whatever she's got to say and all those things. So I kind of leave it alone. I figure she's going to call and let me know like what's really going on. And so that's the morning of the 25th, Sunday morning at like 6 a.m. We have this short text conversation. Like, okay, I heard from her at least, it's okay. The next day, 24 hours later, a little more than 24 hours later, I get another message from her account again, but it's clearly her boyfriend, Michael. And he's going on and on and on, trying to get me worried, trying to get me riled up, trying to get me on his side, trying to get me to locate her for him. And now I'm starting to feel like he's trying to manipulate me into locating her for him. I don't want to do that. If she wants to be away from him, I know what this relationship has been like for the last 18 months. If she wants to be away from him, if she needs some space, I'm all for it. I support her, whatever she wants to do. So I don't really like go with what he's saying or like get worried, because I feel like I'm trying to be made to be worried at that point. And I'm like, I just talked to her yesterday. I'm sure she's fine. She's with friends. Like she'll turn up. Don't freak out. That night, that Monday night, Michael had also been interacting with Layla's biological father in New Jersey, trying to get him worked up and on his side and looking for her. So he calls me and he's like, what are we going to do? Like, no one can find her. And I'm like, well, I talked to her yesterday morning. Like, I'm sure she's going to call me and let me know what's happening at some point. She normally calls me early in the morning. And he was like, all right. And I was like, listen, it's not even been 48 hours. I don't know if they're going to take us seriously. She's an adult. Let's wait until morning. If she doesn't call me tomorrow morning and let me know what's going on, we'll call it like 8 a.m. I go to bed. Dad cannot sleep. Understandably, he's 600 miles away. He doesn't know what the situation is. He doesn't know Michael like I do. He doesn't know the ongoings. He's just up there freaking out. So it's around midnight that night. He goes ahead and he calls the police and he's like, can I file a report? I haven't heard from her in days and I'm worried and the boyfriend is making me worried. And they were like, yeah, we'll file a report. So he files a report. There's still some debate at whether or not it was before midnight or after, but the report says the 27th. So we're going to go with that. And at 2 a.m. on the 27th, the detectives knocked on Michael Thompson's door and everyone was home. Everyone was accounted for and everyone was cooperating. And even Michael seemed concerned. Like, I can't find her. I don't know where she is. Like, whatever you need. I find out when I wake up the next day that the report's been filed and all that stuff. And I talked to the detective around 3 or 4 the night, like on the 27th. And he proceeds to tell me that my daughter was at the AmeriCorps Hotel in Kingsport the night before, Monday the 26th, that he saw her on camera. He talked to some people who had talked to her. And at this point, like, we're posting stuff to Facebook, like, hey, where's Layla? Has anyone seen Layla? Posting flyers and stuff. And people did come forward. They talked to the detectives. They talked to us. She was seen at the AmeriCorps Hotel the night before. So detectives at that point are like, she's probably holed up there with someone, with her friends, with whoever, just trying to keep away from the boyfriend. Apparently things aren't going very well over there at the house. Okay. That's what we go with for the next several weeks because that's all we know. The next day on the 28th, I was given the hotel room number that she was supposed to be at, where everyone thought she was staying. And I sent my ex-boyfriend up there to go get her. And he did. And when he got there, him and his friend are like knocking on that door and they're there a few minutes And all of a sudden they hear someone hollering for them, and they look down into the parking lot, and it's Michael Thompson, Layla's boyfriend, and 2 of his friends. They seem to also be kind of staking out the parking lot, waiting on Layla to come out. They get together, and all of them spend the next several hours trying to find Layla, talking to people at the AmeriCorps Hotel, talking to the people at the warehouse behind the hotel. There's a walking, jogging, running path that runs behind that hotel and into town. And it's, if you're on foot and you don't have a car, which Layla didn't, that's the fastest way to get anywhere. Like, it's super fast. It's great. Like, walking around. So they go up and down that stretch of the greenbelt looking for her, and Michael comes back with this whole she was seen at the warehouse. He's saying this morning, and it turned out that she actually was seen, but it was the morning. I'm getting ahead of myself. So he's like, oh, she just was here a few hours ago. She had the guy at the warehouse saw her, and then she was at the ice cream store, and someone gave her ice cream, and like he didn't sound like he was sound of mind, and so I didn't listen to any of it. I was like, oh, okay, dude, whatever. He didn't seem like he had his wits about him, if you know what I mean. So I don't really listen to any of that, and I spend the next few weeks sort of putting up flyers all over social media, and then like I would get feedback, I would get comments. Oh, I think she's here. Oh, I think I saw her the other day over here. Different hotels, different stores, different things. So, once a week I'm running around to different places, because I also have 2 sons and Layla's daughter, who's a toddler. So like once a week I set aside time to go and like talk to people, like, hey, someone said they saw my kid here, I can't find her, etc., etc. A few weeks goes by, and I'm out doing flyers, and I'm at a certain hotel in the parking lot with one of Layla's friends. We're fixing to go in and talk to the manager who had reached out to us, who thought Layla was there at that hotel. And I get a message from Layla's dad's girlfriend, and she said, I just got a Cash App request from Layla, from her Cash App account, and there was like letters, and we sat for a while trying to figure out what these letters meant, and it all of a sudden it dawned on me, she's saying that they will let me go. She's asking for $100 and they will let me go. And I'm like, oh my God. So I get into Cash App, and I'm like, I sent $1, and I'm like, hey, Layla, like, what are you doing? What's going on? And I'm getting all of these responses back, and it's someone is trying to ransom her through Cash App is kind of what's going on at this point. I decided very quickly, like, oh, okay, we're going to ask some really specific questions, right? Some things that only Layla would know. And we asked 3 very specific questions that only Layla would know, and there's no response there's no answers. Now, if this was an actual ransom situation and Layla really just wanted to be free, she would answer the questions. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this is spooky and weird, but I don't think she's on the other end of this phone. Like, this is crazy. We go into the hotel to talk to that manager, and I bring it up, and I'm like, we're getting these weird Cash App requests from her account. And the manager was like, oh, it's a scam. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? And she's like, well, people will scam you and say that, like, I'm holding your son, or I'm holding your cousin, or whoever. And I'm like, yeah, but my daughter's actually missing. What are the odds that a random scammer is trying to convince me they have my kid when my kid is actually missed? Like, it got really weird. We notified authorities. We sent all of the information over, and I stopped interacting with whoever was on this account, but Layla's dad's girlfriend continued for the next several weeks. And like literally the guy, like whoever was on the other side, would stop messaging us forever, and then all of a sudden pop back up like, hey, don't you want your kid? It was so strange. So Layla's birthday is August 5th. her 21st birthday was August 5th of 2023. And by then we still had no answers and nowhere to look. And I threw a candlelight vigil for her birthday. So we did that, and that night, Layla's dad had come down for that, and that night we had met with the detective, like he was there at the vigil, and he set up a meeting for all of us the following Monday. So we all show up to this meeting, and in this meeting, we are told that on Monday, the 26th of June, my daughter was at the AmeriCourt. She was on camera there. She was seen by multiple witnesses, but she was acting erratically. She seemed like she did not have her wits about her. And at some point, she ran from the parking lot at the AmeriCourt Hotel into the woods behind the AmeriCourt Hotel and then spent the night there in the woods. That hit me really, really hard in that moment because my daughter is kind of like bougie on a budget and sleeping in the woods is just not her thing. So I was like, that is weird. None of that seems right, but okay. Like my heart sunk when I heard that. The following morning on the June 27th, she was in fact seen at the warehouse outside of the AmeriCourt. So like you have the hotel, you have the woods, and you have this big field. And on the other end of the field is a working warehouse. It was a medical supply warehouse or something like that, or a medical company owned it. And at 6, 7 a.m., gentlemen were coming in for work. And this must have woken her up. And she gets up and they saw her like get up out of the field and she was sort of like looking around her for something. We don't know what. And then she came across the field and talked to at least one of the men that were on their way into work, asked him if she could bum a cigarette. He said he didn't smoke. And she was very polite. And she said, oh, okay, thank you. I hope you have a good day. And then she walked off in the direction of the running, jogging path. That, by the way, has zero like cameras or like any kind of none of that. There's no technology to where we could see what happened once she got on the trail. And she was never seen or heard from again. Now, for a long time, we did believe that she was at the ice cream store 6 hours later. And this is a weird twist that only just came out a few months ago. But there was a girl, a young woman, matching Layla's description, wearing similar clothing, because Layla was last seen in a white tank top and black leggings and no shoes. She was running around barefoot. It was June, but she was running around barefoot, which is kind of weird for her. And the girl at the ice cream store was wearing the same thing and had no shoes on. And she had run away from like some kind of domestic violence situation and ended up at the ice cream store, and the manager gave her ice cream and something to drink and her phone to use. And detectives tried to follow this lead for months and months and months. And the person that the girl called kept saying, like, I don't know who Layla Santenello is. I've never met her. I don't know who she is. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they didn't believe her at first. And so they continued to work this lead. And eventually they located the girl that was actually at the marble slab that day. And it was not Layla. So we were going in a very wrong direction for a long time. Yeah, so her actual last seen location is the warehouse behind the AmeriCourt Hotel, headed for the Greenbelt walking path. And I think that's it. There isn't anything else to the story. She literally vanished. She's just gone.
Okay, so last time we talked, there was not a lot of leads that were coming in from police. And
the police are not going to give me the leads that come into them. They stopped doing that when I made a big fuss out of the whole situation and kind of like made her case viral. They kind of stopped, sharing as much information as they were initially. But also, initially, they didn't believe she was endangered. It took about 3 weeks of investigating for them to consider her like an endangered young adult. At first, they thought she was just keeping away from her boyfriend, or like they didn't think that any foul play was going on initially. It took 3 or 4 weeks of investigating before they realized, like, oh crap, something must have happened to this girl.
So when was the last time you had any type of update or any type of lead in this case? 'Cause it's late June, so you're coming up on a year.
I know.
I know you know.
I know. They like to say that the law in Tennessee keeps them from being able to give me all of the case details. Legally, they're not supposed to discuss open investigations with anyone but law enforcement. And it's frustrating. Listen, I love my detectives. I trust them. I have faith in them. I know they're working hard on this. I hate that I don't know everything that's going on and everything that they're doing. It drives me crazy. It leaves too much room for thought and thinking and worries. But I feel like back initially in those first few weeks, they were fine to tell us all about everything they found. And then we got to like the 6-week mark and it was like dead silence.
So what have they done as far as searches? And I mean, have they done, like, so you can see what's going on in Hendersonville with Sebastian Rogers.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of searches. You can see what happened with Riley Strain. I don't remember them doing, and this is, I'll take the heat for saying this, but I don't remember them doing anything like that for Layla.
They did a few searches. They did a few multi-agency searches of the Greenbelt, that path, and like wooded areas surrounding it. They did use some like drones that detected decay and that kind of thing. They did use some dogs in some areas where they didn't think the drones would work. And that's kind of it as far as searches. I think that it's hard right now to narrow down a place to search. What we really, really need is for someone who knows something to come forward and, you know.
And okay, well, before I say what I was going to say, you know that she was at the AmeriCorps Hotel. And I don't remember if you said this just now because I was talking to somebody in the comments, but I know from our previous chats that she was barefoot when she left, correct? So,
She was.
and then she walked and she went through the area where the little shop was in that shopping center. She was barefoot the entire time. Did they bring any dogs in to search for her
They
scent?
brought cadaver dogs, but not, yeah. Yeah, all we had was cadaver dogs. Not like scent seeking, like that kind of like tracing to what, I don't know what you call those. But they brought in cadaver dogs, and that's pretty much it. And by the time they had done that, it had been a couple of months. So they did do like multiple small searches, and I know that they have done multiple small searches since, but it's not since there was a couple days of these multi-agency searches back in like late October, no, like late August. And since then, like, I've heard of them being like, someone will like, they don't tell me, someone will message, it's a small town, someone will message me in town and be like, the TBI is out here searching XYZ area, or hey, the TBI is basically in my backyard in my neighbor's property, like looking. So I hear about that kind of stuff. I don't know.
My opinion, because Tennessee has been in the news a lot these last missing people, a lot. And
I know.
There's another girl who just went missing in Germantown yesterday, or on the 12th, just disappeared. 15-year-old girl with mental health challenges that she couldn't return home. Nothing. And
That's crazy.
it's all over from Memphis to Kingsport. And when I think East Tennessee, obviously it's hard not to think of Summer Wells and how that
Hmm.
case played out. You can now think about Layla's case. You can think about the fact that Riley Strain wasn't found by the police. You can think that
No,
Sebastian has not been found by the police. You can think about the additional 3 bodies that they pulled out of the Cumberland while searching for Riley that we've
I
not heard
know.
dates on. And it's
Like,
getting
what is that? I thought that we would at least get some kind of information about those bodies. Like,
nothing. It went radio silent.
yeah. Oh, these other bodies were found, but we're not going to talk about that. Like, it's crazy.
I feel just like in Tennessee, it's challenging. And then you had the situation where I don't want to take away and go down too into the weeds, but then you had the situation where you had the one guy, I don't remember if it was Tri-Cities, Johnson Cities, or Kingsport, that got arrested for SA, was recording all of it, threw a woman out the window at one point, then escaped U.S. Marshals, was on the run until they picked him up.
Oh, yeah. I forget what his name is, but that was a disaster. And they're saying that, like, the police were in on that. Like, there's just no way he could have just escaped the way that he did. Like, there's been, like, internal investigations and all that craziness. And that was like Johnson City. Yeah, that's 20 minutes from me.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that they helped or they didn't. I'm just saying that the circumstances surrounding that are very strange. And it's like you look at the Sebastian case, when you have one party out searching and other parties not, and they can't keep their story straight, that's glaring. Why, anyway,
Obviously, yes.
And Summer Wells, same thing,
I know.
And so it just gives me not a whole lot of faith in Tennessee law enforcement, in the TBI, in regard to missing people, the missing persons.
The TBI particularly seems to be a disaster. Like, I don't know. Not that I want to be here bashing the people trying to find my kid, but like everything that happened in the Summer Wells case, that all goes back to the TBI more so than the local PD. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I feel like I've had less of a good experience with the TBI in comparison to my experience with the actual investigators for KPD that are working her case. Like, I don't know. I don't want to say too much and get myself in trouble, but
No, obviously we don't want to do that. And has the FBI gotten involved at all?
no. And now I'm being told, which I only just was like tossing this idea around these last couple of weeks, though, that I can call them. Something about like the FBI won't come unless they are asked to or some craziness. Is that true?
Well, I don't know that to be sure, but with adults, maybe. With kids, I learned this actually recently during Sebastian. Apparently, the FBI can be brought in, FBI and Secret Service can be brought in when you have a minor.
Yeah.
Something that President Bush signed into law back, I think, in 2003. I literally just learned about all of this, so that they can utilize their resources to help, local PD and stuff to find. So, given that Layla is, over the age of 18, getting
Yeah.
Secret Service, probably not, but FBI, especially if there's any chance that she could have gone over state lines, which, I mean, you're so
Right.
to North Carolina and Virginia.
It's 10 minutes to Virginia, 30 minutes to North Carolina, an hour to Kentucky, an hour to South Carolina. It's wild.
There's also, you can do a petition.
Yeah.
So somebody had just suggested this in the chat, and actually Seth Rogers is doing that right now. There's a petition for him that I posted on my website, which I'd be happy, of course, to do the same exact thing for you, for people to sign.
Yeah.
People to get the FBI involved, and like, hey, and trying to put some pressure on it, because that's kind of what these cases need. Is they need more awareness. I can't see how many people on TikTok right now watching, but we have 265 in here, plus it'll continue growing.
Right.
That's more people learning, more people following your story.
Yeah, thank you all for being here.
But I think also that making a call to the FBI wouldn't hurt.
I don't see why it would. So I'm going to work on that tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to figure out what numbers I need to call and who I need to speak with. This is driving me crazy. I'm so sorry. I don't know why that keeps shutting off.
You're good. And I can't remember, did I ever give you, and I know I always throw him out in a lot of these cases, but I ever give you Joe Petito's information?
You did?
You called him?
No.
Okay, you should give him a call. He's
I'm
got some.
anxious about it.
Do you want me to call with you?
That would help.
Okay, I'll do that.
I've been like so many times I have wanted to pick up the phone and call. And I feel like a bother. Does that make sense?
He likes helping. I think that it helps him cope with his loss.
Yeah.
I really do. So
Well, we could do that together. That would be cool.
I'll get with you and we'll get that figured out. Before I get into some of the questions and some other things people are asking, we've kind of casually mentioned that Layla has a toddler that you're taking care of. Now, you know, I'm all about keeping kids safe, so be very minimal with what you need to say or want to say here. But why don't you tell the people a little bit about her, you know, the fact that she has a daughter? Because I want people to know, you know, that she's a mom. There's a little kid out here missing her mom.
Yeah. Nova's birthday was Saturday. And something that I noticed lately is that I talk to her about her mom a lot, right? Like something will happen and I'll be like, oh, you know, your mom loves bacon, or your mom loves this, or mama would love to see you doing that. Like I try to always like just throw it out there. Like you know, she's on our fridge and she's on the walls and we talk about mommy, and Layla, like Nova likes to be held up to the pictures and then she likes to name everyone. But lately, the last couple of months, she wants to talk about mom less and less. When I bring up mom, she doesn't really respond back to me, and she's less interactive. And I worry. It's almost as if I've simply watched her mother's memory fade from her for the last 9 months. And now we're at a place where she just doesn't really even remember her. She was 2.5, less than that, when Layla went missing. She just turned 3. So it eats me up to think about the fact that she may not remember her. If Layla's never found, if she never comes back, Nova's not going to ever know her. And that's been kind of kicking my butt lately.
Yeah. It's tough at that age because mentally they have so much going on so quickly and their memories are short. And they don't really start having those memories till about 4 or 5.
Yep. And it's hard for her to like express her feelings, or you know, she doesn't fully understand that mommy is missing. I haven't really like laid that on her. She just knows that mommy's not around right now. I don't know. I don't know what is the appropriate age to break this kind of news to a kid.
I don't think there is an appropriate age. I think you have to have an age appropriate discussion, but I don't think you're there yet.
Nova's not aware of like how devastating the situation is, but she is like, she's losing Layla. And I've like, coming outside. They know where I am. Why did they decide that they wanted to come outside right now? Oh, Opie and Nova. She's having a hard time sleeping, and he's trying to keep her entertained so that I can do this.
She will remember though her memory through you though.
I know.
And at a young
But
age,
it's not the same.
I know.
Nova is an amazing kid. Like everyone loves this kid. Strangers, like everybody just like falls in love with her the minute that they see her. She is sweet and smart and mostly well behaved. She's got some abandonment issues, obviously. She can be very, very clingy. She just spent a couple of weeks with Layla's cousin Megan and my sister. And this I do because when Nova Grace was 3 months old, my daughter sat with her cousin and made her cousin Megan the godmother, and wrote down on a piece of notebook paper that if anything should happen to her, that it should be Megan's responsibility to, take care of Nova Grace. Now, Megan is in her 20s. She lives with her mom still. And her boyfriend is also in his 20s and still lives with his mom. And Nova has been with us since birth, pretty much. When Nova was born, Layla came here for the first 6 weeks to my house, and we all kind of worked together she was jaundiced at first, so there was lots of feedings and like all kinds of craziness going on in the first few days. And Nova's known my house forever, and then her mom like disappeared, and she has like really bad, what is it called, separation anxiety. She's afraid I'm going to disappear. Like, I'm like her constant, and she doesn't like to be away from me. But on the same side, I want to honor my daughter's wishes and make sure that she has a good, strong bond with her cousin. So Nova spent a couple weeks with cousin Megan, and she loves Megan. Don't get me wrong. She loves Megan. She loves being there. All they do is fun stuff. They go to Great Adventure and the petting zoo. Like, they do so many things, so many more things that I can do, I have other kids and a million other things going on. And anyway, the issue is that when she gets home, the transition is difficult, because at that point she clings to me as if she believes I'm going to disappear if she lets go. Like, it's difficult. It's difficult trying to figure out what is the best thing for Nova Grace all around. Like,
Well, one thing that also is people are talking about therapy in the chat. As she gets older, but they can do what's called play therapy
yeah.
to help get through that. Might be something you want to look into. I don't know if there's any good people who do that in your area. I'm sure that there are.
I hope so. It's hard to find specialists that do things around here.
It is. And if you had to drive into Knoxville once every once in a while, it sucks.
No.
But,
no, I would do it.
You probably need one for you too, though.
Yeah, I'm in therapy. I've got somebody I'm working with.
Because
it gets really, really heavy, this whole thing. It's like trying to run a marathon that you did not train for with a 50-pound pack. Like, it just gets heavier. The more time goes by, it just gets heavier and more grueling. And you would think it would get like easier at some point, but it doesn't.
No, it's not going to. If your child, it's never going to get easier.
I know.
You just have to learn how to cope. Is what it is. So there are some people that had some questions. I want to let you have an opportunity to answer these. I don't normally do this a whole lot, but for you and I've done this a couple of times, and I want as much information out there. Now, because if you have questions, do drop them in the chat. So one person came over from TikTok to ask. So here's a first question for you. You can read that. Which is, have they checked their internet history? I got to go right up there. I love this thing.
Is that your new toy?
It's this thing here is my new toy, but yeah, this whole setup.
Have they checked internet history? That's the question.
Yeah, basically, like, I guess with her phone or anything that she had.
Okay, so here's the fun part. Here's the kicker. Back in February of 2023, Michael was arrested, and Layla was not with him, but he did have her phone. Okay, so he gets arrested. He catches a drug charge and something else, and they take her phone into use as what is it? Why can't I think of the word? It's because it's like 11 o'clock on a Monday. The cops took the phone for evidence. There you go. There it is. And it's been in evidence lockup since then. So now we get into, why was he messaging me from her social media account? And it is because they shared his cell phone. So Layla's phone, my mom was paying that, and she had minutes, like unlimited data, like all the things. And that's why when he left the house and left Layla there, he took her phone because he didn't have minutes on his. His was like Wi-Fi only. So he gets arrested. They take her phone. We spent the next couple of months trying to get her phone back from the police, but they kept like, no, it's evidence. You can't have it back, blah, 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 blah. And then she went missing, what, 4 months later after that? So when okay, the reason she walked away from Michael is because she had some kind of an altercation with someone in his family. And I don't know exactly what it was about. I don't know, what made her mad enough to leave, but she was over it by then. And she spent the next several days just like hanging out with friends and going with different groups of people. And in my opinion, trying to keep away from Michael and whoever else she didn't want to deal with. And she had to walk out of there without a phone because they were sharing his, and hers was an evidence hookup. And at some point, a friend let her use a tablet, like for the duration or whatever. And that's where the messages she was sending me came from. But then later on that Sunday afternoon or evening, the tablet was stolen and nobody knows where it went. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess they couldn't really check the tablet history because it got stolen. And I know that they did take his cell phone. Okay, so we didn't talk about that. Whenever, a couple months ago, it was revealed that the person making those Cash App requests and claiming to be Layla and be Layla's kidnapper, it was Michael. It was Layla's boyfriend. I believe this was a crime of opportunity. I believe that he needed what he needed in any given moment and figured he could get that from us. That made me really, really sad. And it was really devastating and a shock, honestly, because it's like this kid has been in my life for 18 years. He's been in my home. He's had Christmas with me. He's, had family meals with us. Like, he knows us really, really well. And the fact that he didn't have any qualms about, like, any of that, that's pretty brutal. You know what I mean? And so whenever they figured out like where those Cash App requests and stuff were coming from, they did raid his home and they tossed it. I mean, they were there for something like 16 hours searching and collecting evidence, and I feel like they took more than one cell phone out of the house, but only one of them had like the Cash App stuff on it. And that would be the one that he was sharing with Layla. And it was easy for him to do because she was logged into everything and all the passwords were saved on that one phone. So yeah, they've checked that phone, but I don't know what's come of it.
Yeah, that's new information
Yeah.
that I was not aware of.
Yeah, that happened like 6 weeks ago that they finally came out with it. Like, I had known, but I wasn't allowed to say anything. And they finally did like a whole release or whatever.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a little betrayal.
It's bad. Like,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
It's shitty.
Yeah. And like, not just that, like I had known him for about 18 months and had him in my home for holidays and like all the things. They had spent plenty of nights in my basement, and like, it's just crazy. But Layla and Michael have known each other since elementary school. Like, they basically grew up together. Okay, I didn't know him very well until he and Layla started dating, but she and him came up together. And then he spent 18 months as a part of my family. And then Layla goes missing, and not even 2 weeks into it, you are scamming us. And the way I figure it is it's got to be because he knows how much we love her and what we would do to get her back. And at the end of the day, we probably sent him more than $100 in the back and forth conversation, because we would send a few dollars to like leave a note and talk.
There's a lot of questions that are come in, so you can answer these or you don't have to answer these. I'm going to give you that option. You can answer them as detailed or just one word if you want to, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them are important, so we'll go through those. Somebody asked if there was going to be any more vigils. I think that's a nice question, because if there are, that's something that we can definitely...
I've been considering it. I've also been considering like Person's March back in December. And I want to do another one. I feel like back in December, for one, it was really, really cold and it was hard to get people out altogether. But we also didn't market it very well. We really like decided spur of the moment to do it and then didn't talk about it a whole lot leading up to the event. I want to do another march through town. I mean, because we've not just got Layla, and we've not just got Layla in summer, but we've also got Holland Snap. So Summer Wells went missing from like 25 minutes away from me. Okay. Holland Snap went missing from 10 minutes away from me. And that story, Layla went missing in June. Holland went missing in October. Holland was last seen beaten half to death on the couch of a 50-some-odd-year-old man who she was staying with. She was 19. And then she vanished. The man had reached out to someone for help, and that someone showed up but had someone else in the car and was like, listen, let me take them home. I'll be back. Dude wanted to take her to the hospital, right? But the man, the 50-year-old man guy, he didn't want anyone else knowing about the situation. So the man then reached out to the driving guy, and without giving away too much information, and told him, oh, you don't have to come back. Don't worry about it. Her family came and got her. It'll be fine. She's fine. It'll be fine.
Interesting. Well, and obviously we don't have them on here to talk about it, but that's another case that also needs attention. And
It does. And so that happened back in October. There have been 0 searches for Holland. Now, Holland is dealing with a completely separate police department. That's Sullivan County Sheriff's Department, and they are doing a terrible job. I don't like to talk smack about the law enforcement, but like, we had some remains found last week or the week before here locally. And before they even released the fact that it was a thing, I got a call from my lead detective. And he told me as much as he could. And like, it's not Layla. I promise you it's not. Like, don't freak out. I don't want you to panic when you see this, etc., etc. Holland's family, however, they got no calls. They spent days not sleeping, anxious, worried. How do you do that?
They forget the reason why they're in law enforcement is how you do it. And you have my number. You're welcome to share it with them. I will happily give them the same platform I give you and anybody else.
Oh, yeah. I can do that.
I'm not happy to do, but you know what I mean. This question is the bio dad involved, or is that too personal? I'm thinking they mean Nova's dad.
Okay, Nova's dad, that's a whole other dramatic situation. But he's been incarcerated since January 1st of 2023. He actually, this is a funny story, he was released for about 2 weeks. We all thought he was released on some good behavior stuff, and so did he, because that's the paperwork he signed. He came over here, he had dinner, he hung out with Nova. Nova has a baby brother. We had a whole family night. It was great. The following weekend, I reached out to his mom and we were talking via text, and she was like, "Oh, they picked him back up. He's back in prison." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, um, apparently they released him by accident."
Cool.
How do they release inmates by accident?
I mean, it's not funny, but it's a great story.
That's
Not,
crazy, right?
it's insane.
It's crazy. Now, he's not like a violent serial killer or anything, like whatever, but like, how often does that happen when it's like a really bad person? You
Insane.
have to wonder.
Well, I guess that answers our question on that. It's insane.
So
Someone
yeah,
can do
he's not really been around for more than a year. He did get to have a visit with Nova Grace, but that's over and done with, and Lord knows when that's going to happen again.
Do you know if there's been any searches in other states?
Not that I know of.
Do you know if Michael was ever abusive to Layla?
I have never seen him be physically abusive to Layla. She has never told me that he was. Um, I know that they had a very toxic dynamic, and I have heard him be like emotionally and verbally abusive. All that being said, there have been a couple of times where she showed up on my mom's doorstep beaten up and claimed it was the women in his family. Because she would show up there with him at her side and she would say, "So and so dumped me." And we
Well,
have like pictures and video and of that.
it's interesting because there's a person in the chat who is in your area, and one of her questions is, would his family harm her in any way? And I think you just answered that.
Do I think, I don't know. I hope that they don't have the capacity to unalive her. You know what I mean? But I don't know these people very well. I got to know Michael, but I didn't really get to know the rest of them.
Well, one thing that I've learned by talking about a lot of these cases is a lot of these people can lead double lives very easily.
Oh, yeah.
Don't really know what they're capable of.
I know that.
This is kind of an interesting question. I think I know he hasn't, but I'll say it because I think it's just a good idea to put in your head. Do you know if Michael ever got a polygraph test done? I mean, polygraphs obviously aren't admissible, but do you know if they ever asked him questions in case he was lying?
He did do a polygraph. He offered himself up for it. The problem is that Michael's system was compromised by certain substances,
Gotcha.
and the type of specific substances made it so that when he went in and started the process and did like the baseline and all that stuff, he was good and under the influence. And by the time it ended, because it takes 4 or 5 hours to do this type of polygraph, by the end of it, his body was already starting to panic, if you get my meaning. And so it messed with the results, and they are inconclusive.
There's a lot of questions I'm scrolling through about Michael, about his family. So I'm just going to make one blanket question that will hopefully encompass all this so we don't go down this. Do you think that Michael or his family know where Layla is?
I don't know. I don't know. I know that law enforcement doesn't believe they know anything. Sorry.
No, that's long.
It's so hard to talk about what I think. I don't have any specific theories that I focus on. I can't do that to myself.
No, and you can't talk about that publicly because then that becomes a whole new can of worms you open up.
Oh yeah. Oh
But
yeah. And even it's so much, like I can't lay on one though and put all of my eggs in that one basket, because I have to continue to have hope and faith that it's going to end up being some crazy misunderstanding and she's going to walk through my door one day. Without that, I'm a mess.
What at this point do you need? What can people do to help? I mean, obviously, I can share this part. Share the story.
Mhm.
let me put it back up here again real quick. Jennifer's TikTok has grown pretty well. It's a beautiful disaster. It's scrolling across the bottom of this. If you're watching, go follow, listen to her stories. She does updates. There are other creators that are talking about this. If you are a creator in the true crime current event space, make a video, share the missing persons poster. I mean, there's really anything that you can do. You have a Facebook page too, don't you?
Yes.
You want to
And
promote
that's
that?
just Jennifer Santenello. We do have a group. There are multiple Find Layla groups, which is wonderful that other people have taken, you know, the initiative to do that on their own. That's great. Ours, the one that I run, is join the official search for Layla. And you can go directly to it in my link tree in my bio on my TikTok. But yeah, that's the Facebook stuff. I'm also on Instagram, but I don't keep up with it as well as I probably could have or could.
What you got to do is when you make the video, you'll see to the right where all the options are. There's a little arrow. And if you press
Mhm.
the arrow, it downloads the video that you made without the watermark. And then you just upload that to
I
Instagram.
know, but I always forget to push the button before I
That's
post.
fair. Well, even if
I'm
you
always like, these videos are difficult for me. A lot of emotion and a lot of like mental energy goes into them. And so when I'm done, when I've finally gotten it all out and gotten it all edited, I'm so excited that I forget to like do lots of things.
well, the thing is, and we can talk about this offline, but there's also a way if you upload it and you're like, man, I forgot the watermark. There are websites that you can use to still pull the watermark off it to re-upload it.
Good to know. I would like to learn more about that because I often forget to do it.
Because as a creator who's been doing this for a long time with over 1 million followers, I just learned a month ago that that button existed about the arrow.
Really? I knew about that. Like,
Yeah, fine. But me, every time I did a video, I was downloading it, removing the watermark, and re-uploading it. So
oh, that's hilarious.
on me. Whatever. And so yeah, there's a couple sites I can send you those, but if you forget, then because if you are putting that much work into these videos, they should go everywhere. If you don't have a YouTube, you can put them on YouTube as a short as well, and just start every platform that you can put it on.
Yeah.
Out there, people will share. But other than sharing the story, what else do you need?
We are still fundraising. I would love to get billboards. Billboards are so expensive. Like I looked into it. I thought it might be like $1,500 a month or something. Like, no, it's like $5,000 to $7,000 a month. Like it's crazy money. I would love to have billboards. I would love to have even big old yard signs so I could go door to door and see if, you know, can I put a sign in your yard? Can I, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm still paying a private investigator. That's fun. It's this is not an inexpensive task. And that is the unfortunate part about it. There's a lot of things that I have to do that are very costly that you wouldn't even think about. It's a lot. So we are still, you know, raising funds and trying to use them as proactive. I would love to have a $10,000 reward at least. Like right now we're at $2,000 and that's all we have. Like it's difficult.
If people did want to make a financial donation, where's the best way for them to do that?
The link tree in my bio should take you directly to my GoFundMe. I know again, just like the groups, there have been a few others made. I'm trying to think of the name of mine specifically. I can give you the link to it. Maybe you can post it. I should have thought about that before we got on here, but I didn't. I almost never remembered to even talk about it. Like I'm terrible about it.
What I'm here for.
Nobody likes having to ask for money to start with. Like that, I hate that. I wish I just had the money to get the things done. You know what I mean? But we don't. Opie works at a plant. We're a one-income household. Like I have 2 sons and a grandbaby and 2 dogs and 2 cats, and life is expensive right now. Like it's hard.
I have a guy in East Tennessee who did a lot with billboards fairly recently. I'll get you in touch with him.
That would be amazing.
I don't think he'll do it for free. He knows that they're expensive too. He was I'm just going to tell you what he did. I don't want people to start getting into whatever because I don't really go into the political side of things. But if you remember when they were starting, he's part of the LGBTQ community, and when they
Okay.
started to pass the trans bills or try to, he started putting up billboards with Bill Lee, our governor, in drag, and right next
Nice.
he had the foster care statistics and how terrible they are in this state. And
They're
so
awful.
in downtown Nashville, he had one in Memphis, he had one in Knoxville, he had them
Oh,
all
that's
over.
awesome.
Got a connection with the billboard companies. I'll get you. Just don't let me forget, but we'll get you in touch with him. We'll
Oh,
do
I'll
it.
remind you.
Okay, good. So we can do that. And I would say too, with the GoFundMe, you can do that, but you also might want to just consider posting a Venmo or a Cash App for people who want to do that because GoFundMe takes 50%.
I know. My Venmo and Cash Apps are also in my link tree in my bio on TikTok. Everything is there. There's multiple ways that you can help. There's all kinds of information on that link tree. I'm so grateful for my friend Ethan who helped me set that up because I did not know what I was doing. I'm so grateful. I've met a lot of people along the way that I am so grateful that I have been able to make their acquaintance. I'm so grateful for all the people that are supporting us and helping us get through this. TikTok has been also like a coping mechanism for me as well. Like I can get on there and for some reason I can tell the world all the things that I can't seem to say to my loved ones. It's so strange, but like it helps. The TikTok community in general is such a positive place. Like I get very little negative feedback, whereas like on Instagram, people are mean on Instagram, honey. Like it's not pretty. I can't even read the comments on the videos I post there.
Jennifer, somebody just gave a really good comment that I can't even believe I didn't think of. You need to come to CrimeCon.
I want to come to CrimeCon, but I heard it's like extremely expensive.
$300 for a ticket.
No, that's not too bad.
Joe's going to be there.
I know. Do you know who else is going to be there? Stephanie Harlow. She has done multiple videos on Layla's case, and here's the best part. I never had to do anything. She found me out, saw me on TikTok, did all of the research on her own, and put out multiple videos. My applause. She's a wonderful human being.
Well, I'm quite sure we could probably get your ticket crowdfunded.
It's possible, isn't it? I would love to go. I would absolutely love to go.
So somebody said they're almost sold out, so I actually need to buy mine as well. Somebody said Nancy Grace will probably be there too. So I'm just saying that might be another really good resource for you to get in front of people.
Absolutely.
So I'm trying to think of what else we can help with. What else? What else do you need?
I don't know. Just support. When all of this began, we got about 6 weeks in, and it started to realize she's not coming back anytime soon. Like this is getting crazy, right? Something is very, very wrong. At that point, I had to make a decision. Was I going to let it go and sit back quietly and wait and see what happened, or was I going to make a lot of noise and force the issue and force law enforcement to take me seriously and force the world to take me seriously? And obviously, I chose to get really, really, really loud. And I did that because there's been this voice in my head telling me that I need to share her face. I need to share her with as many people as possible. That I need to make America know my daughter. It's coming from deep within that I have to do these things. So the sharing is the thing that I always ask for first.
All right, well, that's easy enough. Before we wrap this one up tonight, is there anything else that you want to share with anybody? Anything that you want to say to anybody who might know where Layla is? It's your opportunity to say whatever you want to say.
Anyone withholding information is prolonging the suffering of so many of us. Me, Layla's daughter, the rest of my family. I beg of you, tell me where she is. The authorities have said to me they're just waiting on coordinates. All anyone would have to do would call the tip line and give the location and hang up. No questions asked. Find it in your heart. Do the right thing.
I think for a lot of people, answers are more important than vengeance. And I think a really good example of that, a recent example, which a lot of y'all might have heard me talk about recently, is Beth Holloway with Natalie Holloway. She had an idea. She worked. I know you know that story, Jennifer, because we're about the same age and we all remember when that happened. But, Natalie Holloway went missing. Everybody's known for years, but it was never confirmed. And she basically traded him essentially immunity, a hell of a plea deal just for information. And she finally got it because having that closure and knowing where her daughter was more important than any punishment you could have put on.
Oh, yeah.
Wait.
It's so important. The not knowing, that's what keeps the wound open. There's no healing without knowing.
So if anybody has information, call the tip line. Reach out to me. Reach out to Jennifer. Reach out to anybody. They'll go look. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your story again. I know it's never easy. I know that Trev Time, apparently somebody said in the comments, did a video on Layla. Have you talked to him? Because he's in your area.
Trev Time? I don't know who that is.
The YouTuber. You know what? We're going to get you in touch with some more people. You probably need to do a lot of these interviews. So I know that they take a lot out of you emotionally. Just,
I do them anyway. It's just part of it.
Yeah, his name is Trevor Lee.
Oh, yeah. No, I know Trevor. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know he had a YouTube.
Yeah.
I talk to him all the time. I had no idea. No, Trevor's amazing. He's incredible. He's the one who helped me with the march and everything, and he's the one who's supposed to be helping me to do it upcoming one.
He just was for Seth. He just interviewed Nina Gomez, Chris Proudfoot's most recent ex-wife. Channel I know blew up from that as well.
Okay. I didn't know that. I had seen some of the clips from that interview, but I didn't know that was him.
That was him. So
he's doing such a good job with the Sebastian Rogers case. I'm so proud of him. He's doing great.
But I would say it might be a good time for you to, all people who are interested in his channel, might be a good time for you to revisit that with him as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can make that happen.
So, all right. Well, I appreciate you coming on and sharing the story, and hopefully we'll have some updates soon. But let's really blow you up. I know we tried to do this a little while ago, but let's keep the momentum rolling. And everybody share.
Sir.
Go find this poster. You can Google it. I can put it on my Instagram and Twitter, or X now, for it's easy for you to find. In fact, I will go do that. Take it, share it, put it on any groups that you have. Put it on your local Facebook, because again, it's one of those things. The more it's out there, the more people see her face, the more people see that she's missing. And again, it's just sometimes exposure is all it takes.
Thank you, Justin.
You're welcome. All right, guys. Have a great night, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Okay.